Hello there, welcome to the channel. This is Nerd.World Films, and today we are discussing Tremors, one of the greatest underrated horror B-movies ever made. A masterpiece that launched the career of Kevin Bacon and the career of a giant subterranean Precambrian worm that eats everything that it can get its tendrils onto. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and please also check out my other channels that are listed in the description below. Nerd.World, Nerd.World History, and Nerd.World Order, which are all linked in the description below. Please check them out. And with all that said, let's get to... Well, alright. Tremors, for me, is one of those films that comes along once every so often. It's almost like once a generation. A film that is competently shot, a film that is well scripted, has a decent screenplay, and actors that are well cast for the role that they play. In this movie, you've got Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, and a giant worm. Now, the two main protagonists of the movie, played by Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, are the lens from which you see the film. They are the ones that move from scene to scene. They interact with the different characters who will all come into play at different parts of the film. The film even has good character development. It has setup for things that happen at the beginning of the film that actually have meaning and impact for later on in the movie. For example, you learn early on in the film, in what's almost a throwaway scene, a gag, about how the icebox in the little shop shakes and rattles because it's old and it's busted like pretty much everything else in Perfection. But this is a sly setup. Later in the movie, when they're all trying to be quiet and the graboid is trying to go away, the machine kicks in, starts to vibrate, brings the thing back, it bursts through the floor and kills the shopkeeper. Everything in the film is a link to something else within the film, not a link to a sequel that hasn't even been thought of yet. It's not a link to some spin-off movie or some TV series they're trying to spin off the main character into. Nothing. The film knows the story it wants to tell, and it tells it. It has a narrative with a beginning, a middle, and end. It has setups and payoffs for characters. You see the growth of the main two protagonists in the movie, who basically are the local handymen. They'll do pretty much anything for money. Their goal, ultimately, is subsistence existence. They're perfectly happy. They float from job to job in their truck. They have their beers. They have their food. They're happy. But they have ambition. They want more. You learn this about them as the film progresses. And you learn that they try to leave. And through their efforts to leave, they learn that they can't leave and they're now stuck. You learn from a geologist that the entire area is sort of contained geologically, so everything inside the mountain ranges has always been there, so these creatures have always lived in this valley as sort of a well-balanced ecosystem, so to speak. So what looks like it's going to be a run-of-the-mill basic B-movie turns into something enjoyable. It turns into something well-crafted, and hell, you compare that to a lot of films now, and they don't have the same narrative structure. They rely more on flashy explosions, less on the characters. This film even manages to turn the graboid into a character. It balances humor and action and gore in a way that's just simply almost never achieved nowadays. It's one of those films that comes along that manages to be just self-contained perfection, pun intended. Films like Predator, Aliens, that are just perfectly shot, beat for beat, no spoiled footage, nothing. You have an action scene, you have a moment to calm down and reflect upon it, you have maybe a little more exposition before, boom, going into the next action sequence, and each bit drives the story along. Things you learn about it, you realize you can use against it. They realize it can't move through solid rock, so you can sit on a rock, but you can't stay there forever because you'll eventually die of hunger, because it can outlast you. It will just sit there waiting for you to come down. The film cannot be more perfect. For that reason, it's just so well structured and put together, and for that reason it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And it spawned multiple sequels, which, to be fair to them, as most of them are direct to video or DVD now, or direct to streaming, whatever you want to call it, They do have a certain sense of diminishing returns, but they never lose their humour. They never lose that general core of interconnectivity. You can see how each film leads into the next. It's not just a series of Easter eggs and pop culture references to the previous movies. There's actual substance to them. They do get more of an emphasis on the comedic value and sort of stupidity of these things as the films progress, but they still retain a high production value, and you can tell that the people making these things actually enjoy doing it. Gummer. And you can get swept along with the story. I have all of them up to the most recent one as of the making of this video, which is Shrieker Island, which is surprisingly good. I thought I finally hit a bottom this series. Nah, it was actually pretty good. I'm not doing a talk on every single one of the films, but basically, yeah. Each of these films is maybe not as good as its predecessors, but they are still better than a hell of a lot of other sequels that get made nowadays. And yeah, this film is very much enjoyable, especially considering it stood the test of time. It doesn't rely on CGI, it doesn't rely on flashy effects. Everything is done practical, and a lot of the time it goes with the less you see, the better approach. So therefore, it managed to age really well, unlike some of its cast. But generally speaking, it is an enjoyable and generally, maybe not thought-provoking, but definitely something of a movie, which again, I compare it to a lot of things that get churned out by Hollywood nowadays, and for a 30-year-old film, as of course of the making of this video, it stood the test of time. And it's easy to go back and watch it. It's had not just multiple movies, it's also a TV series spin-off from it. Everything from the simple Tremors, the TV series, to a more modern attempt to spin one off, which actually was going to star Kevin Bacon, that we still haven't seen anything of other than the trailer, which sucks balls. Come on. I'd love to see that film. I don't care if it's not canonical. It ignores, as I understand it, the continuity of every film after the original, with maybe the exception of the second. I'm not too sure. So basically, at most, it only recognizes the first two films. Maybe. Might actually recognize the first one. But, as I said, that's probably out of canon anyway, as they won't release the damn thing. Now, with that said, I do have a little thing I like to do on the end of these videos where I personally score them with a nerd score, and as I love this film so freaking much, it is getting the fanfare of all 6 nerds. There are 6 nerds in the world, and I'm giving all of them to it. It is a great film, well worth a watch, very enjoyable, and yes, if you do actually follow any videos on this channel, yes, I have done a video on Tremors before. It was a Things You Didn't Know About Tremors video. That was back when I started this channel as a spin-off from my other channel, Nerd.World, and kind of wanted to do videos like that, and then decided I didn't, because I prefer to talk about stuff rather than just list stuff off at people. So, yeah, that video's there. Probably won't be linked to this one, but I do prefer to just chat about film. So, in that context, in the comments below, tell me everything you love about this movie. Do you love the director? Do you love the cast? Do you love the cinematography? Do you love the place that it was filmed? Do you love the graboid itself? It probably would love to eat you. Everything about this film, to me, is absolute perfection. And every time I've said perfection in this video, it is pun intended. I don't care. Fight me. I will die on this hill because I can't get off it because there's a graboid circling it. And with that said, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.